Tonight, the King 5 investigators exposed that Hanford executives misled public officials and citizens alike about leaking nuclear waste for several months last year.
In her continuing investigation, Hanford's Dirty Secrets, Susanna Frame exposes that the truth about an important tank at the site was concealed during meetings for the public and policymakers.
With all the uncertainties at Hanford, what's buried below this dirt was supposed to be the one slam dunk. 28 sturdy double-shell tanks. If all else failed, at least these would protect the Columbia River, the food chain, and people from the worst of the worst on the planet. With 2 steel walls, not one, like the older tanks, the added safety barrier would contain that nuclear waste until scientists figured out a way to get rid of it for good. But that plan fell apart.
The failure of a double-shell tank is big, big news.
The citizen watchdog group Hanford Challenge shocked the public last summer with information from a Hanford insider. Their press release read, "First double-shell tank leaks at Hanford." A massive blow to the entire cleanup operation.
And the reason is that we are relying on these tanks to operate safely for 40, 50 years through the rest of the cleanup.
Now the public wanted to know what's going on.
Board members and alternates,
especially the 32 members of the Hanford Advisory Board, citizens, government officials, and scientists.
Secondly, another suggestion is
it's their job to give sound advice to the feds and the state of Washington on how to solve problems at the site.
But it seems like I'm getting quite mixed messages.
The board had questions, and Tom Fletcher, a U.S. Department of Energy Hanford manager, was supposed to be the man with the answers. At a board meeting last September, Fletcher brought photos of mysterious material that had made its way into that safety space between the 2 walls of the tank known as AY-102. But Fletcher told the policy advisors he didn't know what it was yet.
They were saying, well, don't jump to conclusions, it's just a possible leak.
Meredith Crafton and Tom Carpenter of Hanford Challenge both attended the September meeting.
The overall presentation was we're looking, but we don't see any evidence yet.
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Representative Jerry Paulette was there as well.
And their answer was, we're investigating it, but we think that it's likely that it's rainwater.
Here's an audio recording of a portion of Fletcher's presentation.
It could be a carbonate buildup.
Yes.
And that's a possibility. It's just, like I said, we've seen a lot of different things, and they just don't point to any one thing, and that's why I'm really hard to speculate what it is. We haven't got to a point that says, hey, we know what it is. We know there is a history of rainwater leakage in this tank, annulus.
We found those explanations don't add up. A month before that meeting, with all the speculation of rainwater, a tiny piece of duct tape, something similar to this, told a different story. This is duct tape employees from the government contractor in charge of the tanks, WRPS, lowered into the safety space of AY-102 to grab a sample of whatever was down there. And boy, did that tape deliver. Internal emails obtained by King 5 show that on August 13th, weeks before the board briefing, the lab reported to company execs what they'd found. Flakes of rust, old paint, and something else. Some of the most dangerous nuclear byproducts known to man, Strontium-90, plutonium, Cesium-137, and more. The exact components of AY-102's primary tank.
After they analyzed the duct tape, should there have been a lingering question, is the tank leaking or not?
Via Skype, we shared the findings with our radiation expert, Marco Kaltofen of Boston.
I don't know what they're waiting for. Did they need a fax from the president saying, okay, this is a leak? It was time. All the information was there to make the right decision.
Enough was on that tape.
Absolutely.
The tape held one more important clue. It was screaming hot with radioactivity. And remember, the sample came from the safety space that shouldn't record any contamination at all.
That's a huge number. You actually have to go out and look hard for equipment that can measure radiation that's that high. You had all the information you needed, you knew you had a leak, and now it was just time to fess up, face the music.
We wanted to ask WRPS President Mike Johnson about that and more. He repeatedly denied our request for an on-camera interview.
Hi, Mr. Johnson. I'm Susanna Frame from King TV. We've talked on the phone before. We're here to talk about tank AY-102. Can you tell us why the public was misled for several months last year?
We caught up with Johnson outside the WRPS offices in Richland.
I think we have some important questions that our viewers deserve to have answered.
Johnson didn't answer our questions, but members of the Hanford Advisory Board did when we told them about the tape and lab results dated in August, a month before their briefing.
If they're going to say, just dismiss the evidence, the obvious evidence, in front of them and not even tell us about that evidence, then how can we rely on them for anything?
And I think it can put the public at risk and workers at risk when they're not forthcoming with information, also meaning they're not forthcoming with responding to issues and creating solutions.
This was a very deliberate cover-up, and I will use the word that we were lied to. There's no two ways about it. We were lied to.
And it wasn't just WRPS President Mike Johnson who wouldn't answer our questions about this issue. The Department of Energy, which put on the presentation for that advisory board, they wouldn't answer any questions about the tape, the lab results, and the delay in telling the public what was really going on there.
All right. Susanna, amazing stuff. Thank you.